Hi, Bud.
Hey,
How are you?
I can't hear you.
Think that's you, not me.
Maybe me.
Yet?
Now I got you.
Oh, how are you, Bud? All right.
Well, I'm just recovering from some kind of a virus thing, so
Oh dear.
Alan's going to take lead on this one. I was up in Nashville at a wedding thing, and quite an interesting town, but lots of folks, and I guess I picked up something. Anyway,
Okay.
I'm on the recovery phase.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it happens.
That's life. Yeah.
It is. How you been?
Yeah, I'm okay, thank you. Yeah, nothing exciting.
Nothing new?
Oh, well, there's always things new, but yeah, I mean, it's the time of year where I've been 3D printing slug rings, electric fences for slugs, and things like that. It's the garden's starting to grow and all that sort of thing.
Oh, I hear you. Well, I've been learning how to focus stack through a microscope. Hopefully, I'll get to show you a picture a little later.
But did you see that video that I think on Discord, I think Zeno published of the rotating microscope?
Oh, I
Well,
did.
brilliant, wasn't it?
It
I
was
thought.
very nice. Yeah. I don't think it's in my future, but
Nor mine.
it was really fun to see.
Yeah. I was staggered actually how they managed to keep so much in focus, given the how fine the stack's likely to be. Sorry, how fine the focus plane's likely to be.
Yeah. Well, I ended up focusing 177 images through a diatom
Oh wow.
at 1/10 of a micron step.
Yeah.
And it came out pretty good, but you can't stack it like a normal stack. What I found in these really small things is you find the one that has the most information, the slice that has the most information you're interested in. Because if you stack fore and aft, then it gets confusing because these things are translucent
Surely.
and your mind can't sort it. So all you want is the top half.
So, okay. So you're using the top half, not just one, obviously, you're using some, but not all.
Right. In other words, if I take ribs on a diatom, the bottom ribs are at a different angle than the top ribs.
Yeah.
And so nothing will stack.
Yeah.
So what I do is I go through and find out where I think is like the most important plane that I'm interested in, where I'm interested in detail. And I'll go maybe I put it as a center of 6 slices or 5 slices, let's say, and I'll
Mm,
substack those.
mm,
And that becomes my point that I'm going to paint other stuff onto.
surely.
And so then I go and say, let's see how much of a rib I can get. And maybe I end up with 10 slices that I stack.
Mm,
And I paint those in and I keep adding substacks depending on, if the angles is acute or not acute until I create the whole image.
mm, brilliant.
Yeah, that's all I can do.
Yeah. Out of interest, I don't know if you know them. The Quicket, it's a UK thing. Quicket, Microscope Club, QUEKETT Microscope. They they're on Facebook and and you can join them. But I've seen one or two nice photos coming from them, both of diatoms and Daphnia. And I know that you've done that to and they're similar to yours, and I might be worth you hunting them down and having a look if you can.
QUEK.
ETT.
KETT. You saw that Daphne I did, didn't you, at the last
I
time?
did. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. It's beautiful. I loved
Have
it.
you seen the one on Facebook that was done with fluorescent?
Yours?
Microscopy? Not mine.
I don't know. I have seen one recently. I thought it was a cricket, but I don't know.
It was on amateur microscopy.
Oh, was it?
Facebook.
Yeah, well, I probably have that. So yeah,
But they did a fluorescent stack
yeah,
using UV light,
yeah,
and it's amazing the colors that the Daphnia have.
yeah,
So it's pretty cool.
yeah. Lovely.
I haven't tried fluorescence yet, so I've been talking with a fellow named Saul on photomicrography. Do you know him? Or
No, but I've seen posts by him.
yeah, he's got uh, he sort of figured out how to do flash photography and LED with a single lamp.
Okay.
So basically, you can use the LED for focusing and viewing and getting everything set up. And then you hit the flash button, and it'll take a flash image through the optical light path through the microscope.
Okay.
So, because it's fast, you can stop the cilia movement of a protozoan.
Yeah.
So,
Out of in, out of interest, a friend of mine, the chap I used to work with, actually, he's been um, getting ciliates to electricity, and
interesting.
he and I were talking about making a machine for tracking the movement of an object. And keeping it in in the microscope plane so you can watch the movement of a moving subject. And I think he's going to build it. I haven't spoken to him for some time now, but
So it locks on and tracks a single protozoan
yeah,
on an electromechanical stage.
you can. There is in fact a company. I can't remember what they're called now. Trackerscope or something like that, where you can build a stage for doing that.
I ain't got that kind of time left in my life.
I don't think I have either. It's quite exciting though to talk about it.
But it's going to be interesting what my kids see when I'm dead and gone. They go in there and go, "What
What
the
the hell
hell
have
are
we
we
been doing all
doing?"
the time? Yeah.
Hey,
What was the
Mark,
point of that?
going to have a great garage sale.
I'll be there. No, I won't. I'll be gone.
They'll come.
Yeah.
Keep telling them I'm spending their money.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
But I'm
their
having fun
inheritance,
doing
remember? I'm sure they're telling you that already.
it. They'll take me out quick before I go any further. No, but I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Good.
Fact is, I just got an interesting objective, a 2.5x.
Okay.
So normally 4x is as low as most microscopes go, but I had several organisms like what do they call it, a cyclops?
Yes.
This okay, and you know it has these long tendrils off the back, and it wouldn't fit in a 4x field of view.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that.
So either I had to stack it, or I had to
Yeah.
get a wider angle objective. I mean, I had to stitch it.
Is it a biological objective? Huh?
It is. It's an epi also.
Okay, good.
So I can use it for both. You
Mm.
know, if I get let's say I have a leaf, I don't know how well these objectives will do with UV. They may have some internal fluorescence. I have no idea, but
Yeah.
you know, some of the glass will fluoresce if you don't have the proper ones, but
Yeah.
there's only so much time to play. But what I wanted to do is to, you know, to start doing some epi work through the microscope, you know, leaves and that type of things,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know, up to 20x. So
Fascinating.
I have that capability. I haven't pursued it yet. So right now
Mm.
I'm trying to make sure I have, you know, I can get diatoms and I found some stuff.
Oh, sorry, we were chatting.
Yeah, what was that? Hey, Alan,
Hey, I want you to see that picture. It might be too.
I see it.
You recognize that from the other
Yeah,
day?
it's the thing I shot.
Yep.
Micros something.
We now know what it
Microsteris,
is. It's Urastrum.
Microsteris or something.
This is the best book for digging around in pond scum.
Free living freshwater protozoa. All right, that'll be on my Amazon.
The lady sitting to your left is responsible for this. Thank you,
Oh.
Susan.
Quite
What a
expensive.
great book. This thing is fantastic.
So I couldn't
Anyway.
talk your Susan into that microscope, huh?
You want now?
I said I couldn't convince you or Susan to get that microscope.
Well, yeah, it's not really me you'd need to convince. It would be Wells Fargo. They're the people that would need some convincing, I think.
Maybe we can round you up some funds here on the street.
We'll see. It's a tall ask. Everybody, hope you're doing well this Saturday. This is kind of last minute for me. You can't see my desk, which is a good thing. I have got more partially assembled microscopes on my desk than I care to count. You know, there's a difference between 4mm steel tubing and 5/32 of an inch. It's only 3/10 of a millimeter, but it prevents these things from working. So got to start over again with my shafts. And even though they look fantastic, they don't fit. So there you go. That was interesting. Here's what I thought we could do today. Bud, you feeling better, sir?
I'm on the mend, still under the weather a bit.
Okay. Well, I thought what we could do, seeing as I didn't see any pictures from anybody. Did anybody put any pictures in the folder that
A couple.
Oh, you got a couple in there, Nick? Well, we'll do that first then. That's always going to be the priority, is looking at your pictures. But I thought what we might do, because I haven't had a chance to really prepare much, I thought we could do a little quasi competition thing. Just go around the room and find out how you do certain fairly basic after stack post-processing tasks, and then just build on that, so we can kind of start building a database of what everybody likes to do, and maybe it'll inform our own decisions. It'll be fairly straightforward stuff, but I think we'll all have slightly different takes on it. But first thing will be to look at any pictures you guys have put in. Is there anybody else who's put in a picture that wants to be looked at while I go find Nick's? You know what I found last night, guys, on eBay? A Minolta Dimage 5400 scanner. Does anybody have that lens from that scanner?
No.
It's the
Nick, what do your pictures look like? I'm in the Google Drive. I don't see them.
They are Xerine file naming. So it depends what order the folder's in the AfterStack folder or drive. But
okay, I'm there.
I put them in yesterday.
Okie doke.
I wanted to try and alert you both, but I couldn't find a way to sort of do
no worries. I mean,
did you find them, Allan? Did you find them?
Yep. Nick uploaded 2 pictures yesterday. 100F.
That's the puppy.
I'm going to download it. Both of them. Download anyway. Yep, they're in there, but it might just be for some reason me that sees them. Let me get the second one. Download.
I haven't done any processing on them.
Okay.
It's basically they've come out of Xerine, and that's where we are, because I wasn't sure what we were doing today, and therefore if they might serve a purpose to demonstrate whatever the technique was or something.
Well,
but
they will
also
now.
right, yes, they also reveal a bit about you know, how I'm coming on with the enlargers and primes and that sort of thing.
Excellent.
So there are some characteristics in there that could be retouching solved, but could be something else.
Okay.
All right.
I'm sorry about printer noise. If you guys can hear it as loudly as I can, my factory is in full production mode this weekend. I am opening both of these pictures in Photoshop, and then I'll share my screen as soon as I get them up. Just got to find them in downloads. And there they are.
5000 का नगद इनाम जो भाई इस फोटो को सेट करके
All righty.
Yes.
It's wanting me to convert to my working color space, so I'm going to do that. Put them
Is
in.
this some kind of a machine looking part?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I got one.
Okay. Oh, Nick, this is a big, big step up on color and light. I like this. Yeah, this is
Lighting
the guts of a cassette or a CD player.
CD, Blu-ray, writer reader.
Yeah, it's a Blu-ray because it's got that tiny little stepper motor in the top. They're fascinating. I love these. All right, let me share the screen, and we'll see what. I think the best thing would be for Nick, for you to tell us what your plan was, what you were up to. This is the first picture.
Yep. And that one's F11. If you go to the other one, F8. So the gist of this was to find something that I could use as a target for the focus bracketing setup, and start to sort of work out, is it diffraction city? Is it workable? And, but in the same time, apply what I should know about lighting by now and, start doing that. And, just start using the techniques on it with the post-processing, to see just how good an image can be achieved with all of this. The magnification, I think, is just about 1.2 to 1.
Sounds right. Nick, word to the wise, stereo this.
Oh darn! You've blown my cover. I've got a better one.
Okay,
to do that with. All right.
This is lovely, and there will be so much information in the depth of these layers. Very, very nice picture. This is a big step up, Nick.
Yeah.
Let's look at 11, shall we?
Yes, because straight away you'll see that's when the vignette comes in.
Yeah.
But there are improvements in other ways.
At the center, there certainly are. It's a good bit sharper.
Just if you look, do you see how deep, at depth at certain places, and it's not at the edges or anything. It seems to occur anywhere, even at the center. Do you see a slight sort of softness on the edges? You can see it just in that hole at the top there, actually. And just there in the middle coming down.
Yeah. Well, that's out of focus at the back.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of diffraction softening.
Okay.
Your edges look pretty sharp to me. Maybe a tiny bit as you start to get towards the edges.
Yep.
Yeah. But the depth of field is the trade-off, and you've got a lot more depth here than you do at F8. At F8, this area was kind of out of focus right down in here. Whoops. I just typed something on your...
That's right. It's a copy.
Oh. Yeah. See, that's already dropping out there.
Yeah.
That's at 175% mag.
Right. But I think his sensor can rise to the occasion. This is nice. What do you think?
Oh, it looks great. Yeah, it looks great. I have a trick you could try if you want.
Uh-huh.
Dark sharpening.
Okay.
Well, bear in mind that Nick hasn't done anything to this yet.
No,
So
I was giving him that. We talked about it in the past. Do you remember how to do it, Nick?
You so you want the filter on it, don't you? And then in the blend, it's the blend tool, yeah?
Yeah, you have to create a whatchamacallit, a smart object, you know, a stamp. And then you change that stamp to darken.
Okay.
And then you put the sharpening filter on there. I like Smart Sharpen. So what happens is with the darken filter, it takes the white side of the sharpening algorithm out of play. And so the dark will come in and give you more texture in an item like this and make it look real.
Okay.
once you made the layer into a smart object, you do what?
You go to Smart Sharpen Filter. Oh, you got to change it to darken first, Allan. The blend mode, or it won't work. And then you go to Smart Sharpen. Okay, now you can make that sharpen. The reason I use Smart Sharpen is you can make the window bigger. You can stretch it way out.
You can make the what bigger?
The window, the whole window, just drag it bigger.
On the corners, yeah?
So
Ooh.
now you can get them, so you can have them side by side and you can see what's happening in the real picture versus that one.
Okay.
And so you need, but you need your sliders over. And you can reduce that one a little bit. It's a little bit too big, I think.
Okay, so
If you go down to the bottom, you can make it a little bit smaller with a negative magnifying glass. No, just hit the yeah, right, one click. Now see they're the same size.
yeah.
That's why I use Smart Sharpen, is because you can do that. So if you now take your radius at about 1.2, somewhere in there, yep, and then run a mount up to about 2/3 of the way higher. Okay, now go even higher just so you can exaggerate it. And then hit the preview button on and off and look at your real picture. Up at the top. Is it doing anything?
Do we look at the original bud for the, or you want the adjusted one, yeah, to the Smart Sharpen one to see the difference, yeah?
Well, the Smart Sharpen one ought to show both. I can't see it doing anything.
I can see a little bit on the darker part near the top middle.
Allan, go over the Smart Sharpen window and just click because it shows the before and after. Go
over what now?
Go into the image area on that window.
Uh-huh.
Just click.
Okay.
See, it's not showing before and after because it should run the radius up higher. Let's just see if it's actually working.
Yeah.
Now click on that window now. You see how it works? So that gives you the before and the after, so you can figure it out. And when you look at the other side over there, the real side, not the window, you see how all of a sudden you're getting texture over there when you turn the preview on and off. Look to your left window and click the preview on and off.
Yeah, it's pretty subtle, right enough, but I do see it.
Go up top and turn the preview on and off and look at the real window. Well,
yeah.
Go take your amount to 100% or 500% and give them a little bit more radius so we can see the effect on the right. And now turn the preview on. Do you see how all those little lines and things appear, Nick?
Yep.
Now, if you start reducing the radius, Allan, down to where it looks like you have some texture in the steel right in there, maybe somewhere, maybe in there. You see how all of a sudden it has some presence,
definition.
Yeah, it looks
I don't see it at the moment.
It looks a
Oh,
tad.
go to Gaussian blur. You're on lens blur. That's why.
The preview's off.
And the preview is off.
Here we go.
Do you see? And you can play with that until you get the texture you like. And at the same time, you're getting sharpening because it's finding the edges. So it's sort of a controllable way of seeing how much texture you'd like to add into that metal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I'm always big into making this a little subtle. Now, what can we do with does changing the opacity of this layer reduce the effect of the sharpening a little?
Actually, the amount does, because what you want to do, the amount is how black it is. So if you go back into your Smart Sharpen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just open your Smart Sharpen window again, not the opacity. All you gotta do is click over here in the layer panel. Whoop, you just made a second one.
All right. Well, we'll work in this one. What is it you want to do with it?
I was just going to show you the amount. Bring the amount down, and then see what the amount is, how black things are. So you can reduce the appearance and the subtlety by changing the amount. Turn off the bottom.
Got it.
Sharpen.
Got it.
Yeah, open that one. Should double click it. Yep. So now then, if you take the amount way up, you can see the effect on your picture on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you start reducing the amount, it becomes grayer. And that's all the amount is how black it is.
Sort of like a mask, isn't it, Bud?
It is. And so I discovered when I was doing landscape photography that I could make rocks and things have more presence by doing it in this manner.
Yeah.
It's just another way of adding detail, but it's using the sharpening algorithm to do so. And you can do the same with lightning. So suppose you had an iceberg and you did light in this way. You could put little minute white highlights on an iceberg, but not have to bring in the dark stuff, which would tear it up.
Okay,
So
thank you.
As you drop the opacity on this layer, it appears to lighten the image and soften it just a bit. Is that what we'd expect?
Yes, because you're lightening it because you're getting rid of the dark lines that you've added.
Right.
So it's going back to normal.
Yeah, at full opacity, it's really nice looking. I mean, the detail is fantastic. This is a great picture.
Yeah, but you see how that adds to your picture by adding some of that detail?
Yeah, definitely.
And you're using sharpen, so it's interesting.
This would look.
I was just going to. Sorry, Alan. I was just going to ask how the image would be affected instead of using that by just increasing the texture in Camera Raw.
Well, we can find out.
Good idea. Let's take a look at that.
And Nick?
Yeah.
What was your camera and lens setup for this one?
So this is, Alan, try not to throw something at me. It's the 85mm prime with 100.
No, I'm absolutely not going to say a word.
With 105mm enlarger lens.
Okay, and stacking auto software on the Canon, or?
No, using the focus bracketing. I mean, the setting numbers, I imagine, don't matter much, sort of mean anything, but it was sort of above halfway, 3/4, you would sort of say, 3/4 on the scale. And it's about 70 images on either of them.
And that's your automatic focus bracketing?
Yeah.
On your Canon, yeah, okay.
This is the way I would have done it. What Graham's suggesting of just tweaking this a little bit in Lightroom when I brought it in, though I'd probably do the sharpening after the fact in Topaz, but there's no real noise to reduce. But yeah, I mean, in the detail panel of raw, it seems to give much the same effect. Maybe not as striking, but it needs a bit more light. What do you think, Graham? What would you change?
Well, the first thing I would have done before I use the texture, if you got rid of the texture, I'd reduce the highlights slightly because you've got some blown out bits, odd bits. So take the highlights down a bit and then change the texture. That's what I've done it in that order.
Yeah. I didn't do any of the initial editing.
No, I understand that.
I'd pretty much do the same thing. What is the difference, Bud? What
Yeah, texture.
Zero out everything and let's see what the texture does, Allan.
zero it out to
Double click.
You know, put all your sliders at 0. I think you can just click on the names. Double click.
I tried that and it didn't
Click the triangle.
Double click
Just
on
click
that.
on the eyeball. That'll turn it off.
Well, we won't texture, so double click on the triangles.
And the gray.
all right.
And just see how, max out the texture and let's see what it does. It does some. Clarity is a lot stronger. Run clarity up a ways now. Let's see what it does. That's similar.
It does the same kind of darkening effect to bring out the lines that we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably not as flexible, but it's a lot quicker.
You've got grain on fully to the left. Does that impact anything?
No, I mean, adding grain will add the false texture to it a little bit. It gets a bit crunchy.
Does the clarity increase the white at all? Can you tell when you move it? I think it's a contrast, so it should also blow the whites out. Move it back and you see how the white gets brighter too? With the darken, you don't have that whitening effect.
Right, but I would overcome that with the dehaze, which will darken it a little bit. The texture is doing something.
Yeah, it's a micro sharpening, I think.
Yeah, I think either way, Nick, this is a lovely photograph, and I could play with this for hours.
Truly.
And yeah, there's a lot of depths to explore here. Very nice indeed. Well done, bravo. And the lens was what now? 85mm on what?
And the 105 El Nikkor enlarger.
Okay, well I stand appropriately corrected. This is nice.
Right.
I would
this month's competition
absolutely be happy with this.
Yeah, this month's competition is going to force me to start getting braver with it all.
Good. Well, I'm very pleased with that. Does anybody else? Is there anything else, Nick, that you want to cover while we're looking at this?
No, just one other thing I'd mention is, Alan, the lighting. I'll thank Susan for this because I've been looking at them, but when she gave you the small rig set,
yeah, I used them yesterday. Yep.
Yeah, so
Lovely.
I bought a set and then realized late last week that I didn't have enough, so I bought another set.
There you go.
They're doing it for me. They're doing a beautiful lighting setup now. Very easy and with all the attachments and everything. So
are you using the little domes on them, the small diffuser domes?
At the moment, I've used the slip-in diffuser sheet, and I've used it behind the what you call the hexagon
the grid.
Yes,
Honeycomb. Yeah, it's a gosh, I'm blanking on it too. Yeah, it'll come to me. It's You wouldn't think it would work on a light that small, but it actually does.
Yeah, and as you can imagine, I'm now looking at that and wondering what I can do in Fusion to get a smaller grid.
Oh, yeah, I know you can do that. All right.
It looks quite fine, but thank you.
You bet. Those lights actually work really, really well with this double layered diffusion thingamajig that I made last week.
Yep.
With 2 concentric pieces of diffusion on it with the small rig lights outside it. That's what I was using it with, and they're very, very effective for bright, shiny, reflective subjects. Bud, do you have anything that you wanted to show? Does anybody at all have a picture or anything you want some help with, or a concern, or just want to show something off?
I can show off
Okay.
a diatom if you want.
Yes, that would be fantastic. I'll figure out what it is while you're doing that. Where's my book?
All right, let's see here. I got to get back to
Graham, have you done any diatom work over the years?
No, never.
Does it appeal to you at all?
Slightly, but I'm finding there's so many things to photograph. I just haven't got the time, or I don't know what to do. There's things everywhere.
Yep. Isn't it the truth though? They're just everywhere.
That could be a poem or a bad limerick.
It could be. We won't go to limericks.
Leave it alone.
That just gets me in trouble.
Yeah. Same here.
Has anybody looked at the new updates to Photoshop with the?
I've got to quit and reopen your computer thing.
Okay.
Right back.
Go ahead.
It crashed my computer.
What did?
The Photoshop update.
Did it? Are you using the beta or the?
No, I've stayed away from beta.
Well,
So
I have not had that problem yet.
I had my computer scrubbed yesterday, which is why I couldn't put anything in for the competition, even though I shot stuff.
Well, no worries. Does the when the crash happened, you just installed Photoshop and
I just re-updated it. And
had you thrown away the old version, by the way?
Well, now it's gone.
The last time this happened with an update for me, it was a conflict between the new version and the old one. We're both trying to do something at the same time.
Right, and I had also updated like about a few days before the Mac update, and so when they did the
Sequoia,
when they did the kind of like their technical, let's see what's not working, and it wasn't even showing the new update, even though it had it as an update. So there was something between the two.
Yeah, when I updated to the Mac operating system, it would go along for a few seconds, flash pink, and restart the computer, rinse and repeat. And then I had to reload the operating system.
That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, so something's up between these two companies that they're not talking nice.
That's an interesting take on it. I suppose it could be a few.
Well, if you're not in conversation and with your biggest, your biggest users are going to be, the photo graphics type publishing people for Mac. And, if you can't keep them happy, then you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, they're notorious for not communicating with, I think Adobe and Apple do have an issue, but
yeah.
I'm back if you want me to share.
Yes, sir. It's all yours. I'm ready with my book. Nick, I found the gears. Thank you, sir. I mean, Graham, thank you.
Excellent.
And they work supremely well.
Good news.
If you have tubing of the right size, they work even better. Wow. Gorgeous. Look at that.
What is it?
Just wait a minute. I'll tell you because I know, obviously I know because it's, I'm brilliant, but let me look it up.
Is there an app for this? I have an app to identify bugs in plants. I don't have an app for protozoa and
These are, you don't need them with me around. They are pennate diatoms. I'll give it's Nietzsche. Wow. Spelt like Nietzsche. Or it's Pinularia. I have no idea what it is, but there you go.
So
that, bud.
This is 177 images obtained at 0.1 microns per step.
Oh, good. Focus block.
The one you made, it works.
Yes, it does. That's so cool.
But you have to think differently in the microscope world about having to stack things, which I was talking to Graham about. These things are all translucent. So if you try to get the front half and the back half, you end up with a very messy, confused image. So the way you stack these things is you take all the stacks that you took, but you start finding where the sharpest focus. So if you see that area in the middle where there's texture along that middle corridor, so I find the slice that has that, and then I may go 3 or 4 slices on either side and make a substack, and that's my starting stack then. And from there, I only move in one direction. So if I decide the bottom is more interesting than the top, then I go backwards and just put all the backside in as one, or in this case, the front was more interesting. So I moved from the mid portion of the organism up toward the viewer.
You don't get a lot of artifact when you do the back half?
What you do is you do these small substacks and you paint them in individually. For me, if I wanted one of these ribs, I would take the flat part of the rib. I'd go back and forth and see how many slices I needed to get that. I'd create the substack, paint it in. Then I'd go to get the angled portions toward the edge, and maybe it's only 3 or 4 slices, and you paint it in. But if you have to just work it back and forth, you can't do it like we normally do a bug stack. It doesn't work.
It's kind of like manual slabbing.
It's manual slabbing is the only way I can get it to work.
How long
Yeah,
does it take?
I had to do that with the mosquito larva, but I was also using a video that I stripped to get the slices. But it was, because of the translucency and the water around it, it was not as straightforward as like stacking a crystal, for example.
Right. But there's no way to get the detail that you see here unless you do it that way that I found. I've tried stacking, 30 of them, and all of a sudden everything starts to wiggle, the edges get unsharp. You have to really kind of go in there and pick and choose and try to put it together best you can.
Well, but playing devil's advocate here, but I can hear the critics saying, well, you're only showing us half of the organism. How do we know that this is a true representation of the anatomy?
You don't. And you never will. You can't do a 3D thing of this, as far as I know, but I look forward to when you get a microscope and show me how to do it.
I don't know. I don't know if you could do synthetic stereo at this scale. I guess you could. That would be very interesting to do a full stack front and back and see if the mess clears up when you split it into stereo. I wonder.
Well, my adventures into these translucent things is that you get all of this prismatic effect that's not due to the lens. The lens is, apochromatic, but these things act as prisms. And if you try to get too much going on, it gets...
No, I understand that. I just think that too much going on is also happening on larger scale with shiny bugs. But when you stereo them, those errors seem to disappear when you form that one image. So I'm wondering if the prisming and everything would actually correct itself when you were looking at a stereo image.
No idea.
You
Give it a
should
shot.
you should run the stack with every third image and just see what it looks like
Okay.
with a 1% separation. We might be shocked.
I can do that. I mean, I created all the images, so they're all there. I went
Yeah.
completely through this organism, but I had to, when I tried to put it together, the other side looks different. I mean, it has ribs, yes, but the central channel is totally different.
What magnification is this, Bud? Sorry, Alan.
60x oil.
Thank you.
And the condenser and the lens were both oiled.
I'm not suggesting that it would succeed. It's just
It's a curiosity.
It's something I've seen. I've seen Rick do this with really small subjects in air that had, the stacks did not look particularly good by themselves, but when he worked up the stereo, everything seems to complement when your eyes are crossed.
That's a good point. I have I can do it later today. It's easy enough to do. So you would choose every third one and just do it.
Whatever it took to get down to about 100 images. Yeah.
Okay. So would you stay with the Pmax, DMAP, or just try both?
Just Pmax.
Pmax. Okay.
And I do separation at probably 1 or 2%.
Okay.
Plus
All right.
1, minus 1.
Can I show another?
Yes.
Some of you guys,
anybody do anything different if they were stereoing this?
I haven't even tried to learn how to do stereo yet.
Okay. I'll teach you on Tuesday.
Okay.
Cool. Anybody that you may have seen this one, some of you may have, but
before you show it, one last. Oh wow. Okay, forget it.
No, I can go back.
I just was wondering if any of you guys who are biologically inclined know what is going on with the discontinuity in that central structure that runs the length of the creature.
I think it's a spark gap.
Like a spark plug.
It's absolutely fascinating. I mean, I have no idea what I'm looking at, but it is, the definition is fantastic. I'll figure it out before next time.
I'm going for alimentary canal, Alan.
You would think it would be, but most of them don't stop in the middle.
No.
It's not good for you. Anyway.
One end looks open and the other looks closed. Left and right and left in that order, yeah?
Yep.
So
maybe it's mouse in the middle.
Yeah. Have you ever seen them rotate, Bud?
Oh, yes, absolutely. They go spinning around. These things kind of glide, though, the diatoms.
They're cool the way they glide.
Yeah, some of the other things I've seen swirl, and I mean, there's quite a ballet down there in this small world.
All right, let's see that other gorgeous piece of art there. Oh, wow, that is just impressive. We've seen this one before.
Yeah, I'm just showing you, these are my first few that I was willing to show. It takes a little bit of a learning curve to get up and running. This is, again, only one half of the organism, the half that you see. When you try to get the bottom half, which also has bumps and dots, it gets real confusing. And the lines spread out so that all of a sudden you get blurry edges. So, this is my approach to getting as much detail as I can out of this particular algae.
Well, for those who are interested, this is Eurastrum. It's a green algae. Like other chlorophytes, they have rigid external cell wall made of cellulose. Bright green chloroplasts, which contain chlorophyll B. These desmids have no flagella, but are capable of a very slow movement. They're the same size as many motile protists and are often encountered using sampling and observation techniques employed for protozoa. Most desmids look like two mirror image cells joined together.
This was at 40x, no oil, air.
It's awesome.
It was
I
fun.
love this picture.
I still got to get that hair out of there, but be that as it may. And this was my best shot at a daphne.
Yeah.
Daphnia.
Yeah. I
But
hope you
there's one on
submitted this to Small World.
There's one on Facebook under amateur microscopy that's done with fluorescence, using UV fluorescence and a dark field, and it is something beautiful to behold.
Yep. Well,
This looks
get
pretty
on it,
beautiful from
bud.
here, bud.
Thanks.
I'm gonna have to get my little sample vials and go out in the yard. We had 2 inches of rain yesterday and might have something lurking in the backyard.
There you go. These are just fun to work with. That's all I got, guys.
These are fantastic, bud. These really are just world-class pictures.
Oh, thank you.
Was DIC used for any of them?
Yeah, I use that for the diatom. So a 60 oil DIC using the oil H insert or whatever it's called. So
Well, it certainly works. They look fantastic.
Did you have to do a lot of cleanup on the, like, after stacking on these?
yeah, I mean, if you know me, my standard is 30 to 50 layers. So yeah, I'll get in there and make them. If something bothers me, I fix it, and that's my bottom line, you know. And for the
Can you
daphne,
walk us through that process, bud, on the green algae? From
let me
but
share.
not from start to finish, but the high points. What did you do to get it looking that good?
So I wanted the texture, and so I started out there, like I said, with. I think in that instance, I was using. I can't remember, maybe 1 micron steps. It was a bigger thing than a diatom, considerably bigger, and pretty sure it was 1 micron. And so I picked out the one that had the most detail, just the individual slice, put together, say 10 of them together around that. Maybe it blurred out more than I wanted, so I backed off to 6. So somewhere in there, I got the appearance of that texture that I wanted. That's basically the background of the whole organism. And then I started working up for those chloroplasts that look like little bumps, you know, moguls or whatever. So you get those sharp and then you paint those in, you know, without disturbing the rest of the background kind of thing. And you use a soft brush with the detail. Sometimes I use a 25% brush in Zarine instead of a 75% brush. It lets me blend it a little better. A lot of times I like to use, instead of the detail, which is good, I find that sometimes darken or lighten is the way to go, because what it does is it doesn't really blur things, but it just takes the darkness that you want to use to mold them together to kind of blend those substacks. So darken or lighten works very well there. Sometimes I use the Pro Pixels, and Pro Pixels, interestingly enough, usually has more contrast in the detail. And so I'm able to build it that way. And
what is your end point? When do you think you've done enough, either on a specific layer or on the whole image? When do you stop?
I like to have contours around the edge. So you build up from the center and then you work toward the edges. I found if I start and work from furthest away and toward closest to me, it makes it easier. You know, that way you don't have things that you're trying to paint into the background. So start with the background first, way back where the detail is, and then start bringing things up as they come towards you and adding them in. And sometimes I use blend modes if I find it helpful, but most of the time it's just manual stacking with substacks on these.
When you've finished your stack and you have an output or a group of outputs that would form the basis for your post-processing, are there any artifacts or findings on the output images that make it a no-go just right off the bat, that you're not going to waste any time on it? Anything that you can see at 100% that would just say, nope.
I usually have decided that before I get this far.
Okay. When do you make that call?
You know, I go and I try some contrast. I try a bunch of things first just to see how the image overall looks. And I go back and forth through it and see, you know, what I'm going to have to fix. I'm just scrolling around, you know, examining, if you would, the thing. And if I decide that, you know, it's worth pursuing, you know, it's going to take me a couple of hours to finish it. That's just me.
But are there any specific artifacts or photographic findings, for example, focus banding, that would make it a no-go, and you just
focus banding's a no-go from the get-go?
Anything else? Diffraction, softening?
If it looks soft to me, I give it another stack and see if I can fix whatever happens.
That's what I do too, because it's usually me. If it's soft, it's something I did.
Yeah, I mean, you start to know what your lens is capable of, and if it's not doing what it's capable of, it's your fault. You know, you got to go back and figure out what you did. And you know, I'm shooting right now with the 850 sitting on top of the microscope, but I shoot it where the mirror comes up. I wait 3 seconds. You know, it takes its picture and the mirror goes down. And then I have it moves and then it stabilizes and we do it again. So, you know, it takes me maybe 20 minutes to do a stack, and I have a new computer. Yay.
Oh, good.
So right now it's working and it's working a lot faster than what
Give it a chance. Give it a chance.
Yeah. So I'm not going to connect to iCloud or anything else except the internet. So this is going to be basically a laboratory computer for me. No finances, no nothing, you know, no emails, no nothing.
No comment. Fantastic. Well, that's very interesting. Graham, what about you? What constitutes a fatal flaw, and what's worth going to extremes to fix?
Well, my philosophy is, if it's a really unusual subject, I'm assuming it's wild or something like that, then I'll work on it. But if something needs an awful lot of work, then it probably isn't worth doing. I think, you know, I think if you have to make so many alterations to a picture, then to make it acceptable, then reshoot it if you can.
Yeah. Are there any findings, any kinds of chromatic aberration or comma, any kind of optical aberrations that make it a no-go for you?
My main issue is, I think, is halos around the edges and things like that. So aberrations in the stack, they're things I dislike intensely, and I find them hard and tedious to deal with. So it's a personal thing. It's the amount of work I think that needs doing. If I think it's worth it and people are going to be, or I'm going to be satisfied with it, then I'll do it. But most of the time, I'd rather. I've learned now that, you know, if you get any movement, for example, if you're out in the wild and you get some movements, and it, you know, fundamentally affects the quality of the stack, in my opinion. And then I will junk it and you know, find something else. It's just not worth having lots of mediocre pictures. It's better to have a few good ones.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Susan, what do you think about that philosophy? Is that in keeping with what you're seeing? You're muted. Sorry, I may have just thrown you in the. Yeah, Susan's getting over a cold, so that might be a bad timing to ask her that question.
Same here.
Yeah, but I'm not going to be nice to you, bud.
Fair enough.
Well, we can loop back around, Susan.
Allan, did those motors ever come from China?
No, sir.
I wonder if they're ever going to come.
that I'm thinking the same thing, and I will probably be ordering, at least for these 4 microscopes, I'll probably order some motors from locally.
I'll write them later today and ask them what the hell.
They've always been slow, so I have no doubt they'll show up.
Okay.
So, and I
Seemed
have
like
more
a good site.
microscopes on the way. So
Yeah, seemed like a good site. So
yeah, they are. The Stepper Online is very respectable. I'm not going to pick on anybody who's got their camera turned off. So Nick, what about you when you're planning and executing a focus stacked image? What is a no-go for you? When do you say enough?
I think it would be if the thing comes out with clearly a lot of retouching needed. I think that for me at the moment is where I'd be thinking, what have I done wrong?
Do you make a distinction between retouching in your stacking program? Do you complete that, or do you look at that and decide there's going to be too much retouching to do in the stacking program and then stop? Because I generally will finish the retouching because I'm constantly surprised by the gains I can sometimes get that I'm not expecting. So I give it a chance. But
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't if I looked at it and it was, like this one we were playing with earlier. For me, that's a definite of I'd want to explore, all those places to see what I could achieve, and certainly not just accept it out of Zearine and straight into Affinity. To do sort of clone stamping, healing, anything like that there, because
right.
the tools in Zearine I've been so impressed with what you can achieve, and by picking up the individual frames that make up the stack, that for me that is time well spent. Obviously at this time I've still got a fair way to go on the learning curve, but I've used it on a number of occasions with stacks now, and I'm just sort of seeing, no, it's worth the time. But if it's just sort of too far gone, there's too many areas to do, I think I'd be thinking, particularly with what I can do with the focus bracketing, is come down a notch on the setting on the camera, run it again because it only takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And even put up with having to remove and reload all the images from the card because of things like the batch processing in Zearine. You can just walk away and you've always got something else you should be doing rather than sitting enjoying yourself in front of the computer. So I'm quite content just to run it all through, come back, have another look, and then start with the processing in earnest.
Very good. What is who would like to start this answer? What do you feel about chromatic aberration, color fringing in a stacked image? If you see it, what's your approach to getting rid of it, and how far will you take it? How do you determine whether or not color fringing is worth the fix?
Yeah, I look at it on my raw files first and try and do defringing on the raw editing as much as I can. And because my El Cheapo Infinity focus objective does have a bit of chromatic aberration, so I try and correct that out before I take it
with the. You use the automatic tools in Lightroom or Photoshop, or do you use a manual defringe?
I use manual because the lens is not seen by the camera. There's no raw data to do an automatic on per se. So I use the color picker and try and
oh, I see. Yeah, of course. Right.
Yeah. And then I might play with the sliders a little bit and then look at how it happens across the different frames. So I might defringe on some frames and not on others, depends on the level. And then I'll try and see if there's something in the lighting I could do to reduce that. But it is a cheap lens, and it does tend to fringe. So
Does anybody batch defringe?
no, I
I've
tend to,
never.
yeah.
I mean,
to
using a
copy the-
macro lens, I will.
Yeah, if I tend to sync the settings across all of the raw files, like the noise, like if there's dust bunnies, I'll do one frame and then sync the sensor noise cleanup throughout all the frames, and
Yeah.
and same with the defringe, and so. But
I do
again,
the same. I mean, if I'm going to apply the automatic for the lens I'm using, I'll just do it all at first and see what's left.
yeah, because a lot of times, like with the infinity objective I have, it may be more apparent at different points in the stack. So if it's not present in that area, I don't necessarily want to do much. And so it does require a lot more looking at the individual frames. And oh, by the way, I didn't mean to scare you with the strawberries on the contest.
Yeah, remind me that if we ever eat together, not to go for the strawberry jam.
No, actually, you got the titles backwards. The one without the mold was supposed to be good fruit, and then the one with the mold was supposed to be good fruit gone bad. And so
What was the white stuff then?
there was a mold. It was a
Okay, so got it.
Yeah, it was
what was the other stuff then?
That was just the husk at the top, the green stem.
Oh, okay, the leaves.
Yeah, so I was intending to do a panorama with that strawberry, but it was
well, but forgive me, I there's something about moldy food that just
I got some cheese mold pictures too of you.
Oh dear.
So Julie, have you tried the chromatic aberration correction in TK?
No.
Yeah, I have, but I tend not to do that because before I take them into Z-Ring, I just do the raw editing. And
how is it? How does it work, bud?
I find it's quite good.
Yeah, I have used it for color cast removal and such, but
I think it's easier to use than Adobe's product.
Yeah, it's just a matter of if it's a just a few frames just to make the stacking better. But if it makes it all the way to the final product, then I'll be using the TK tools.
I haven't tried yet, but that's something I plan on trying this afternoon. Just thought of it. If you can do one frame with the TK and get rid of the chromatic aberration and a microscope objective where, Adobe doesn't know what you're using, can you batch it from there? Can you say?
I think you can make a profile and bring that back into Camera Raw like you would with the linear.
Great idea. Okay, a profile. That'd be interesting. Yeah.
Because you
might be a way.
Yeah, you can do the profiles with just about anything. So I haven't.
There you go. That's why we're having a round table discussion. Thank you.
Anyways, I was looking at the videos from Colin Smith and Matt Kozlowski on some of the new Photoshop features.
Yes.
And again, some of them seem to be more aimed at landscape photographers because there's like a landscape masking protocol, like the face protocol. But to do the color adjustments, I mean, just having it right there, so the prominent colors are right there to adjust from, so you don't have to go in and color pick your different parts per se. And it does.
I was actually editing some landscapes with that the other day with a student, and yeah, it's very, very handy. Yeah.
But the color adjustments in Photoshop now, because if you just go adjust color, you get the 7 or 8 prominent colors in your image, and then you can go right to those, and you can still feather in the amount of adjustment, but it's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Supposedly they've improved the remove tool, it said, but I haven't really used it much yet.
Yeah, and some of the features in beta also seem to be an improvement. So sometimes I'll work on it now in Photoshop, and for that, I don't remember which feature it was that I wanted, but then I'll save it, go into beta, do it, and then come back into Photoshop because I don't want to do too much in beta because it just, I don't know, just not stable enough, or I just not as comfortable. And also all my presets and plugins are set up on the primary Photoshop.
Understood.
And can I just show a picture, please?
Please,
You
yes.
certainly may.
The reason I'm showing it to you, and I hadn't prepared it, and it's very low resolution. Let me just share it if I can work out how to do it. This is a picture I nearly threw away. Have you got that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this was a picture taken. There's probably about, I don't know, 150, 170 images in a stack.
Wolf spider.
It is, with an egg sac, and a spun egg sac. And this picture I nearly threw away because I'd taken it too deep. I stacked it too deep, and the artifacts around the spider were so great that I was going to throw the image away and not work on it. And I redid the stack so that only so the last leg of the spider was the last image of the stack, and I kept it in the end. But I was all I wanted to say was, because and I guess we probably all know it, but we have to be very careful how much we stack through an image, because sometimes you can save an image by not stacking all the way through. And I know it sounds obvious, but this one nearly caught me out.
My best picture last year was the full stack was terrible, and the front half of the stack was my favorite picture of the year. So I absolutely understand that. But knowing it and setting up for it are quite challenging. But even seeing it after your stack sometimes can be difficult. It can just look like a bad photograph and until you explore a little bit. But yeah, I have kept quite a few pictures from the last few years that I think may be worth experimenting with shallower stacks. So we'll see.
Yeah, I've been doing that with PMax. You run a stack and you say, yeah, let's just see what the front half or the middle, and you can do a substack in no time at all.
Exactly.
It gives you some feeling for it.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I'll
does
do,
anybody
larger slabbing so I could just kind of see, if there's a better section, and then just look at the slab so I have an idea of where to start.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
that's why another good reason to slab, in my opinion, because you can just throw bits of the picture together. Very good. Does anybody have anything else? We're a little early this morning, but we didn't have a proper program lined up. Bud, do you have anything else you want to show or share or tell or ask?
If somebody has a post-processing question they run into, or
Yep.
Did you say you were having trouble, Graham, with the fuzzy stuff around hairs? Is that?
Yeah. So I haven't got an image here. Only the ones I've kept. But the problem I have, generally speaking, is often, say, an image like this, it may well have a halo, if you like, around it, a light halo, and I find that really quite difficult to get rid of. You might have an image of a subject with a green background, and you have a light green fringe around it, and I find difficulty in matching the light green to the overall background. Does that make sense?
It is, but it's easy to do. It's easy to fix.
Yeah, I know. I've forgotten how to do it though, bud.
Would you like a quick verbal review?
If Allan doesn't mind.
Of course I don't. Go for it, bud.
So, blend modes. When you have a light halo, you've got to darken it toward the background. So you need the darken blend mode. Your source is always going to make something that's lighter than it is darker. But something darker than your source won't be changed at all. That's the nature of the blend mode. So let's say that you have your spider, your wolf spider, that's darker than the background, but it has a light halo. If you use the darken blend mode and the background is a source, right? Now you can either use the the clone stamp or a paintbrush, whatever you choose. Both of them will work. Okay. Let's say that you have maybe a fairly uniform background. I'd use a paintbrush. I can always go back and add grain to it. So I hold down the Option key and I click on the background and it brings it into the foreground color. Okay. So now that I'm going to start painting along the edge to get rid of that halo, and the darker insect won't change at all. But let's say that I have some light hairs in there. I've got to now add a blend if to it to protect those hairs. And that's the way it works. And sometimes it takes a couple of levels of the blend if. In other words, I might have 3 layers, one for grossly getting rid of the big stuff, and then sequentially finer to get rid of the fine stuff without eliminating the white hairs. Okay. Because the darken blend mode is going to darken a white hair. It's lighter than your source. So you have to protect it. So you paint over it. Looks like you just erased it into the background. You use that blend if, you start sliding it, and all of a sudden those white hairs will pop back through. You spread out that, basically your fade control. And then once you have that done, the paintbrush is good to go, and you can just paint around the whole thing, lickety split, because the white hairs are protected and the fuzz is gone.
Yeah, but I got it now. I'll give it a go next time.
All right.
But yeah, that was my only thing. It was just I was getting really frustrated in the end because because some of the background. Some of the subjects, especially when you had, I don't know, a spider's web or something, was becoming so intricate that I often you can clone something out or something like that, and I just couldn't do it. So I thought about it. And I thought, I've watched Bud do it so many times, I've forgotten how to do it again. But thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, the clone stamp, if you have a complex background, is the way to go. But if you have something that's relatively smooth, I just use the paintbrush. If you have a gradient, you have to go with the clone stamp. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. While we're here. Anybody else got anything they have pondered or scratched their head over? Julie? You're too good, I know.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see when I can put my telescope back out. I got 3 inches of water in the backyard right now.
Oh, guys, it's miserable out here in Georgia too.
Yeah.
It's raining and in the 50s.
Yeah, we're expecting
Nice in
another-
Middle Earth this weekend, anyway. So, but I wouldn't move up here just because of that.
Yeah, I used to live in Buffalo, so I'm.
Oh, well, it's still dead of winter up there.
Yeah, it's always been dead of winter, or it's hot and humid, but it's and then I also lived in the desert for 15 years, so it's always hot and dry. It's either dark and hot or light and hot. It's just not much in between.
Schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Anybody else have?
Sometime I'd like to get my Madagascar moth wing picture that got lost looked at.
Oh, okay. Do you have it today?
Yeah, bring it up.
Bring it on.
I don't want to keep anybody.
You're not
Oh, no. I was just going to wind things up if nobody had anything, but this absolutely is important.
Let me get Photoshop back up.
Remind us how this one was shot, Susan. This was on your studio rig with 5X and the 200 relay?
Yes.
That was with a Mitutoyo 5 times objective on a micro nickel 200 f4.
Am I sharing or not?
Not yet.
You have to hit share once.
Hit share, pick your screen, and then hit share again, and it'll do it.
Well, that's what I just did, but
They're sharing but hit the desktop share, then go to the desktop, and then in that same window, there's a second share button in there at the bottom of that second window.
usually I don't have any problem sharing.
Yeah, but we were having problems with your machine the other day too. I don't know.
May have to reinstall Zoom or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Give me some other ideas. Every time I hit the zoom button, it's like it's hitting the plus button. I have to shrink it down in between.
Okay, and you're hitting the green share button at the bottom, or is it red? Green. If you hover over the share button in the bottom menu, it should show up green with an arrow on it. And if you click that, and then click the screen that you want to share with us, and then click share again. Yeah. Yeah, Susan, Jeff was saying that your screen looks a little glitchy as well. There may be a problem with your network. Should we get this fixed up and we can
Okay.
I can add this to the menu for Zoom next week if
Yeah, that way you can share the picture and we can all play with it.
that sound okay?
Yeah, what did Bud say?
Bud said that he was agreeing that it would be a great place to share. It would be at Zoom on Saturday, and we can talk about it and look at it and maybe do some editing and promote AfterStack when we're doing it. Sounds
Okay.
like, and you and I can look at it on Wednesday and figure out any computer issues. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody that we're looking for you guys to send pictures. That makes this thing work a lot better, you know, as a round table, so we can fix stuff and just play around with it. So no embarrassment. No, don't.
Absolutely not.
Share your
Very
pictures.
supportive.
We're here to see what everybody does and how they do it and learn from each other. Like I learned something today.
Agreed. 100%. Well, if nobody has anything else, then we will reconvene and Susan, you and I can get this squared away for Saturday. This week, what do we have coming up this week? I am going to do a brief thing on stereo to get everybody back up to speed on how you shoot it, how you process it, how you do synthetic or real stereo. It'll be quick and dirty, but it'll be fun. We'll cover everything. And then the other live stream, I know what I'm doing, but I've forgotten. So it's written down somewhere. I'll let you know. Okay, and then we'll see you at Zoom, I hope, next weekend.
Yeah, thanks for taking the lead on this one, Allan. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure. It was a lot of fun. We're going to finish a few minutes early so I can get on with these microscopes. I know that several of you will be glad. All right, guys.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Have a good one. Thank you, Bud.
Thank you, Bud.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.